Reformed Church.
Part of what we were singing in that last song, or I don't know if it was the last song or the one before that, was talking about how there was nothing that you could do, right, to get saved. Like it had to be all Jesus, right? It was nothing that we could do for ourselves, so we couldn't earn it, right? The song was saying like it's never been about deserving or earning. It's the gift that's freely given, right? We've received the gift of salvation freely through the high price that Jesus paid through his body, right, for us. But it was nothing that we could do ourselves, right? So think about this for a second. So it wasn't like you were really good and then you were saved, because that would have meant that maybe there was real transformation in your mind and in your body and you were saved, right? But that's not how it happened, right? We were saved when we couldn't earn it ourselves. So think about where that leaves you. So you're this new believer, right? And you think exactly like you did before, right? You've just received the Spirit of God out of no work of your own. All you did was you heard the gospel and you believed it, but you're such a baby, such an infant in the knowledge of God, like the extent of what there is to learn ahead of the life, of a believer. So you look at kind of where you're left. You're left with total immaturity, right? With a mind that thinks exactly like you did before in all of those ways, complete, like worldly, carnally, right? And your body is the same, and then you receive the Spirit of God, right? So how could a person like that live, right? How could a person like that live? Like, how are you supposed to live? You can't really, you don't know enough to do all the right stuff. You haven't grown and matured in churchology, right, to do what all the other church people do, right? I remember like lifting up my hands, because people were worshiping and they were singing, so I guess that's what you do. You lift up your hands. I didn't know why I was lifting up my hands. I didn't know that it was to worship the Lord. It's like everybody just lifted up their hands, so you lift up your hands. But, it's just stuff like that. You don't know enough, right? So, but if you think about that state that you were in, that gives you a really awesome clue as to how the Lord wants you to live the rest of your days in the flesh. That's what Paul said, it's no longer I that live, but it's Christ that lives in me. In this life that I now live in the flesh, I live by faith in the Son of God. So the same way that you got saved is the same way that you're supposed to live out. You know why? Because the notion in your mind that might come, and I was just sharing this with the team, like, you did something wrong. Like, how could I keep doing that? Why do I keep doing it? Why do I keep thinking thoughts like this? And all that ownership that you take thinking that that's still you is just an immature thought that you haven't understood that there is an old man and then there's a new man. Ephesians chapter 4 talks about putting off the old man and putting on the new man, right? But the reason why he can say it so easily like that is because there is a new of you that is your true self, right? You have been made one with the Spirit of God, and that is the real you. Now, again, remember that immature Christian, right? You still think like you used to, like you're brand new. You've been made a new creation. It is true. All things are passed away. Behold, all things have become new. But you still think exactly like you used to the day before you got saved and received the Spirit of God, right? So you, for all intents and purposes, you may think and not really understand. What do you mean I was made new? I think and I feel exactly like I did before, right? But it is an important thing for us to understand that part of living by faith is believing in what the Lord has already done in your life. And part of what he's already done in your life is that there is an old man and there's a new. And I'll stop right here because I want to make sure Pastor Mike has the time that he needs. So an easy way to tell, old man, new man, right? What is the definition there? Like, how do you split the two? The new man, the Bible says, is you've been made a new creation. Old things have passed away. Behold, all things have become new, and all things are of God, right? So it's easy to tell what is part of the new man. If it's of God, it's new. The mind of Christ that you have, in other words, instead of you taking ownership for how could I have those thoughts and why do I keep thinking this, that's old. That's passed away. That's no good anymore. It's old hat. It doesn't even work, right? So the new you that you can put on is the mind of Christ. That's what you have now. Why? And how do you know that you have the mind of Christ? Because that stuff is of God. The Spirit of God knows all the deep things of God, and that's the mind that you have. So when you start thinking of all of these things that are of God, that's the new you. If you want to know what's the old man, is everything that's not of God. That's it. Old, new, right? So when you begin to think, how is a person like that supposed to live? A brand new Christian that has all these old ways of thinking. That's why he says, be renewed, and that's what Miss Lindsay finished praying, right? That we continually, right, having our mind renewed by the Spirit of God, right, by the truth of God. That's why you have to have your mind renewed, right? So your body can be transformed, because this is old. This is part of the old man, this thing. And your thinking is part of the old man. So all that he wants to do is he says, put on the new man so you can get rid of the old man, right? And the only way to get rid of the old man is to think, right, in line with who you are, right? And for this thing to be transformed by the renewing of that mind, so this can match up to your new man as well, right? So it's getting rid of the old and bringing in the new, right? Just good stuff to keep in mind.
We hope you enjoyed this message from Reformed Church. If you have, please share this with someone else and help us get this uncommon truth out to the world. If you'd like to support this good news, you can do so at reformedchurch.com/give. Also on our website, you can take advantage of our free messages, articles, and even full discipleship courses. Start reforming your mind now at reformedchurch.com.